Welcome to the stream, folks. This is Bad at Fighting Games Presents One Punch Combo Episode 2. Serial Killaz coming to a store near you. I'm Raisin B-Man, a guy whose president is no longer incapable. If you want to chat while the podcast is being streamed, you can join me live on Twitch at Raisin B-Man. See. We have a lot to go over here, but first let's get into excuse me. Let's get into an ad. Let's see. Or not. Our stream marker is working. No. All right. Stream markers do not want to work. See if ads work now. Okay, cool. Definitely thanks for checking me out on whatever service you are following this on YouTube. It's great to go there, but Twitch is where I actually potentially get paid. So if you are able to check this out on Twitch, please do so. Subscribing would be great. That you have an Amazon Prime subscription, which gives you I believe it's Twitch Gaming Now subscription. You get a free subscription every month. They don't remind you to use it. It would be great if you used it on me. If not, there's plenty of places that would be deserving of such a thing, like Kinda Funny or any, lots of other channels that do lots of good. But it would be great if you would toss it my way. That would really help my investment and show me where I need to invest in these sort of things. We have the 2 separate podcasts on the network, and there's more to come. But of course, it has to be worth the actual investment for me to put time into. I'm actually working on a separate project which is more successful than this, so my time is limited. But yeah, thanks for tuning in to this podcast. This is the second podcast on this network. The first being filler episode, an anime and manga podcast. That podcast actually is going to be filmed later today. That one is weekly. This podcast is monthly. So you can look forward to this podcast the first Saturday of every month. And you can look forward to filler episode every Saturday. So yeah, let's get into some fighting game news here. Actually, it's some stuff that I forgot last week. The ex-Skullgirls team formed a new studio. And that studio is Future Club. And so I went over the majority of that story on last month's podcast, but basically Mike Z, he's done a lot for the fighting game community, but apparently he is really problematic, and so it's good to see that these folks are able to escape from under him and move forward. And a little bit selfishly of me, but that seems like it gives a path forward for Skullgirls. Skullgirls is not, Mike Z's property. It's actually, I believe, the IP holders are Autumn Games. So I can see a future where you have Future Club Games, and they're making Skullgirls, and Mike Z's not involved, and everybody's happy. So that's always good. A lot of people talk about crunch and game developers not getting what they deserve and everything, and it's like, if we can do this small thing for them, they can be this much happier, that'd be great. Something else I forgot to mention last week is that Ono left Capcom, and he basically, in Japan, they make it so that instead of firing you, they will demote you or put you on something undesirable. Probably something you're familiar with is the fact that they'll send you to locations that's not great. You probably may have heard something like that on TV before. Alaska or Albuquerque, just somewhere people really don't want to be. And so they'll make it so that you want to quit instead of firing you. And rumor has it, I don't know, Imran Khan of Kinda Funny, I think he was talking about how Ono basically was hard to work with. He did good with Street Fighter 4, and it's a shame that we have two stories in a row here where we're talking about brilliant people who have been instrumental to the fighting game community, but ultimately seems like they've served their purpose, and we're better off without them now. Ono, hard to work with, and he was allegedly working on some sort of partner or team mechanic for Street Fighter 6, which wasn't going over well. And, I sort of questioned myself, why is there a team mechanic in Street Fighter 6 when Street Fighter games have never really been about team? I think you have, dramatic battles that we've seen in some entries. Okay, sure. But, it sounds like was really reaching, if that's true, for this team mechanic and what that would stand for. But yeah, he left. And so, I mean, if the rumors are true that he was hard to work with, then hopefully they can get someone less hard to work with. There's a lot of people saying they want Itsuno, who is the Devil May Cry guy, to helm up the new Marvel vs. Capcom, although realistically Capcom probably does not have the best relationship with Marvel. Also, going back a bit, rewinding a bit, Ono was in charge of esports. He was supposed to make sure basically Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was successful. That did not happen, so obviously for career-wise, not great for him. But yeah, Itsuno on Marvel vs. Capcom, if they ever get the chance again. People have been asking for that. The Monster Hunter guy, I believe, is either involved or people are requesting him to be involved with Street Fighter. And even Street Fighter has started following the method of information dispersal, the little, I'm trying to think of the name that they call them, but sort of the Nintendo Directs. They're having Street Fighter do them similarly to how the Monster Hunter crew does. But yeah, but I mean, ultimately, if this is true, what we've talked about is true, then it's a good decision because, of course, we want the best games possible, and we don't want people to have to deal with jerks. Let's see. It says we have 2 viewers in one place and 1 viewer in another place. Thanks for tuning in. Hermantin Nan and Linner Volatile. Yeah, so there has been a lot freaking happening, but we've got next up, or in the news, we've got Tekken 7 is Season 4 release is going to be on November 10th. November 10th with Kunimitsu, an improved netcode, balance overhaul, some other stuff. So of particular note here is we've seen a lot of game developers. Of course, coronavirus has caused some things. You have the what? Sorry, I got distracted by the article. But I was trying to find what I was really going to talk about is you see a lot of fighting games. It's very, very important, and even before Evo was canceled, having appropriate online capability is super important. So it is good to see that Tekken is improving its netcode. So in the trailer, it's described as an improvement for the game's rollback netcode, along with adding a new Wi-Fi indicator to matches. Wi-Fi indicator is huge. Definitely should always have those. But actually I forgot. Dot Esports had the Skullgirls story. Dot Esports again with the Ono story. Event hubs with the Tekken 7 information. In our next story, Mortal Kombat 11 will allow custom variations in tournament play and Combat League. So this is pretty huge. In the last game, Injustice 2, you had variations basically, but they were not allowed in the pro circuit. They were not taken seriously. And of course, with this, we have not, they weren't taken seriously either and were put off to the side. And just going through this article here. And in the article, they do say that certain moves are not going to be available, so it seems like they are trying to balance this, but it could be a slippery slope because the whole point of variations or custom variations is they give you some very powerful stuff you don't have access to normally. And so with as many characters and as many variables they have to go through, somebody's bound to find something that's pretty broken. Next up, we have another Event Hub story. DeBuzz releases a Super Smash Bros. Ultimate tier list, so you can check that out if that's something of interest to you. So this probably doesn't mean anything, but Konami trademarked Bloody Roar again. So A, I did not realize that Bloody Roar was Konami, and B, as a Bloody Roar fan, that's pretty interesting, but ultimately it probably doesn't mean anything. Unfortunately, this is sort of standard fare for how you run a company. If you don't go with the trademark, then somebody else could go under your nose and either trademark it themselves or take advantage of your lapsed trademark. And also, considering this is Konami, they are not really interested in game development anymore. Metal Gear Survive was not a smash hit. So it probably doesn't mean anything, but thought I'd put it out there. That is courtesy of Event Hubs. So Guilty Gear Double X Accent Core Plus R had GGPO rollback netcode added to it, and there was a beta. The beta was extended, and this beta and the netcode made it really, really popular to the point of where it was more popular in terms of stats, people online, etc., than Street Fighter V, Tekken 7, Dragon Ball FighterZ, your heavy hitters on PC. So obviously, people very excited to try rollback netcode. Some games really, really, suffer online because they don't have decent netcode, and here it is. And of course, coronavirus quarantine. That's really interesting to see, but I think it's also interesting to note you can get your game a spotlight if you put in rollback netcode. This game, it's only $3 on Steam. It's not anywhere near a new game. It's from 2012. So even if the developer doesn't really care about putting the rollback netcode in, if you want your game to have a second life, like we've seen Among Us, of course, Fortnite, if you want it to have that sort of effect, it's something you can consider. So, especially with fighting game devs needing all the sales and stuff they can get, interesting observation there. Next up, another Event Hub story. Soul Calibur 6 to receive update on what's next for Season 2. And so there was a teaser image. We don't have much else to go on, but they're still working on the game. So Soul Calibur 6 is not done. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Fortnite DLC fighter crossover rumored for December announcement. This is brought to us by Jinx with a G. So that is a rumor, and there's no limits for Smash Bros. It's going big. I can see it. Next up, an Event Hub story. Almost 15% of players use Seth during CPT Asia's top 128. And Ed was not seen at all. So I think it's always interesting to look at tier lists and character usage to see what's really what. You got lots of Seths, lots of Camis, lots of Akuma, Urien, Chun-Li, Karin, and Gil, barely any. Birdie, barely any. Ed, absolutely none. Very unfortunate. I really wish they would have kept the Ed character how they had him in cutscenes and such, instead of making him a typical Street Fighter roided out character. But you know, hey, they do it to everybody, even Jury. Moving on, Kid Buu and Ultra Instinct Goku are dominating character usage for the Dragon Ball Fighters Championship, but Japan isn't using a certain character. And so you have 12 Kid Goku, 12 Kid Boos, 11 Ultra Instinct Gokus, 10 GT Gokus, 7 Brolys. They don't say which Broly, which is strange. Let me see if I can clarify for that. Okay, yeah. There are no Super Brolys, so they're talking about OG Broly. 7 Brolys, 6 Yamchas. So it's always interesting to look at that. I actually went back to Dragon Ball Fighters. I took a little bit of a vacation and went back there. And, you know, it's a lot to take in, but that game is as fun as ever, even when losing. Moving on, speaking of the same thing, another Event Hub stories. Chris G had to drop out of Dragon Ball Fighters National Championship because he had some connection issues. And so we go back to having a good connection. It's even more important in this day and age, and you know that's a really heartbreaking thing to see. It's not that he was trying something fishy or you know just dropped out to drop out. He was having some serious connection issues. Moving on, we have a Jinx story, Jinx with a G. Smash Ultimate Pro Nairo denies Captain Zack's abuse allegations, claims he was the victim of sexual assault, and is preparing a countersuit. So that is continuing to be messy. Speaking of messy, SNK apologizes over offensive advert for SNK All-Star with Terry Bogard. So this is a mobile spin-off game, and from what I understand, I am not too versed in SNK, but this is completely out of character for Terry, and those mobile developers should be ashamed. You know, it's kind of ridiculous. I can only imagine what went through their head is, what can we do to, you know, let's get some TNA, let's get some tits and ass on the screen. And what can we have the main character do? Oh, let's have him hit on some characters. Like, that's really the best you can come up with? Come on, folks. Next up, another Event Hub story. We have an aggregate Street Fighter V Champion Edition tier list combining the data of 23 pro players into one mega list. So let's see what we have here. Akuma is at the absolute top, which he was at last Evo, I believe. So that's believable. I really don't mess with Street Fighter V because it's a travesty against mankind. Urien at S-. Akuma was at S if I didn't say that. Rashid at S-. He is staying near the top. Seth at S-. A+, you have, I don't even remember the girl's name. It's Gil's assistant, who has ice powers and skates. G, Chun-Li, Dictator, Poison. I kind of didn't even realize Poison was in Street Fighter V. Cammy and Guile. Rounding out, well, actually, sorry, that's not true. At A, we have Zeku, Tire Boy, Karin, and Ibuki. And rounding out A minus, we finally have Nikali. And at the absolute bottom is Nash and Alex. Alex was why I quit Street Fighter V, so I can see that. We have a tier list of from Hungry Box for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. We have another tier list from Punk, Street Fighter V. Samurai Showdown Season 3 will feature a guest character from another iconic SNK franchise. We've had 2 guest characters before, so interesting to see, and we'll be glad to check that out. Those 2 stories brought to you by Event Hubs. Piccolo's homing energy blast and Master Roshi's martial spirit are among the top 10 assists, best assists in Dragon Ball FighterZ, according to JM Crofts. And so with this, Bardock got a bit of a nerf, and his, I guess, go-to assist here, the Tyrant Lancer, isn't as good, but they're saying Master Roshi's martial spirit, marital. Is it marital or martial spirit? Okay, I guess it's a typo. Martial spirit does pretty much the same thing. Best assist in the game is G2 Goku. He has not decreased in usefulness too much, even though very, very powerful. Guilty Gear Strive, that story was brought to us by Event Hubs. Guilty Gear Strive has an unannounced exclusive multiplayer mode only on PlayStation 5, rather. So not the first time we've seen this with Call of Duty's Spec Ops mode, I believe. Hungry Box, again, on an Event Hub story, creates an early matchup chart for Minecraft Steve and Super Smash Bros. Ultimate in a very short amount of time, 5 minutes. Justin Wong joins Panda Global as a content creator. This is a story from Esports. Sure you can review the Brook Wingman XB. So check that out if you'd like to bring forward some of your older accessories. Sonic Fox says Beerus is a lot better, even though there was a universal nerf with the new season. This is an Event Hub story. Smash Bros. Got its Minecraft update, and apparently it's on 9.0, which is kind of ridiculous considering the game is not that old yet. How can it be on 9.0 yet? But I digress. And in an Event Hub story, Daigo says they're introducing Dan. That means they don't have any good ideas left. I wouldn't normally put that in there, but I do like the burn we got from Daigo there, and it wasn't for me, it was from Daigo, so more people are going to pay attention to it. The developers for Tekken 7 are several months behind on the Season 4 update due to coronavirus, according to Harada. This is that was an Event Hub story. PAX releases his latest tier list for Street Fighter V Championship Edition. That's brought to us by Event Hub. And in this, we have... that is really small. We have in the S tier, Akuma, Seth, Rashid, Cammy, and Urian. And at the bottom, we have in the B tier, Alex, Feng, Nash, Ryu, and Sagat. Not too far off the other tier list we went over. But in moving on, Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate was announced. There are free PS5 and Xbox Series S/X upgrades. The collector's edition with a K features a Sub-Zero mask. That is brought to us by Game Informer. Panda Global signs Hook Gang God as content creator. This story is brought to us by Esports. Giovanna is the latest Guilty Gear Strive character. This story brought to us by Event Hubs. Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate Crossplay will only include PlayStation and Xbox versions, so that means PC and Switch are left out in the cold. That's brought to us by Event Hubs. Daigo shared what he thought what were the best and worst V-triggers in Street Fighter V Championship Edition. This is a video. I'm not gonna watch the video, but you can definitely do that. You have G's V Trigger as the best, or Aegis Reflector as the best. So you at least got those for me. You have another Event Hub story. You have UYU or NASR themed costume bundles coming to Street Fighter V. They already arrived as airing of the show on October 14th. Allion released a Dragon Ball FighterZ Season 3.5 tier list with his Majin Buu in top 5. Obviously, that means your Majin Buu may not be top 5. It's a pretty wide tier list, but we're seeing lots of viable characters here. The least viable being Goku Black and Zamasu. That's kind of fitting, the pair there. But everyone else, you have the S tier and the A plus tier. So, seems like a healthy tier list, which hopefully means a healthy game. Sylvester Stallone is voicing Rambo in Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate, which really only leaves the Governator not voicing the Terminator, which is kind of odd, but he's a busy, important guy and probably above his pay grade. A story brought to us by Game Informer: Phantom Breaker Omnia has been revived. It was a canceled fighting game, so look forward to that, especially those of you who like to dive deep and find those weird little ones. Jinx with a G brings us another story. Menard becomes the third Dominican to qualify for Capcom Cup. Moving on, an Event Hubs story. Mewtwo King releases his latest Super Smash Bros. Melee tier list. And in this, we have at the top Falco, Marth, Jigglypuff, and Fox. At the bottom, we have Bowser and Kirby. Oh, why do they do heavy characters so wrong? Anyway, moving on. Where was I? So Nintendo pushed back. This story brought to us by .esports. Nintendo pushes back Super Smash Bros. Ultimate European Online Challenge due to technical issues. Another .esports story. Infectious dominates Europe to claim top spot out at Capcom Cup 2020. An Event Hub story. Capcom confirms which netcode changes have happened in Street Fighter V Champion Edition's latest update. So Tekken is not the only game getting a netcode upgrade here. So they changed how ping is calculated. There was a February update that synchronized lag between players to eliminate one-sided rollback. So, some small updates there. I don't really pay attention to Street Fighter V, so I'll leave that to y'all to figure out. Another Event Hub story. We have Fakuram outside top 10, and Yoshimitsu ranked so high. We have Pak Chops, Tekken 7 Season 3 tier list. Akuma at the very top with S rank. At the A rank, we have Jen, Devil Jen, I think that's Martial Law, Geese Howard, Leroy, Steve, and Brian. At the bottom, we have Gigas, Negan, Kuma, Panda, and Noxus. Seems like Noxus's buffs really didn't do much for him then. Another Event Hub story. Kelly Gostro is now available in Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. And with that, another Event Hub story. We We have the Grand Blue Fantasy Versus version 2.11 patch notes. And next up, we have an Events Hub story. This one's really strange. Serial Killaz. That's cereal in terms of eating, not in terms of very bad people. Pits your favorite off-brand breakfast mascots against each other in a hyper-fighting game that you never knew you wanted. This is currently on, or was on Indiegogo. I'm not sure if it is anymore. I guess it was worth checking out, but it's definitely interesting. Yeah, so if you want to see something like that, you can definitely check that out. They are currently at 20k of 50k. This is a flexible goal, which I guess they're saying the flexible goal means that if it doesn't reach the actual goal of 50k, they'll still go ahead and take the money and do something with it, it seems like. Obsessed with discovering the secret to eternal life, the nefarious Dr. K has spent decades tinkering with human and animal DNA in his secret laboratory. Now the results of his previous experiments are threatening to come back to bite him in a frighteningly literal way. Now from his private island of Waki Waki, he invites a selection of supernatural warriors and his own failed experiments to compete in a fighting tournament that has a prize none of them can refuse. That sounds deliciously fighting game like. The only part I'm confused by is what the bonuses are for this. Okay, so they do list the bonuses here. I won't list that stuff out, but a lot like Skullgirls, it seems you have something similar here where you can be in the game, you can get a soundtrack, phone wallpaper, early access, there's a comic, you can be an NPC in the game. Design a stage or costume. And there's some other bonus that's already sold out, but I don't know what. See you at the tournament. Anyway, let's move on. That's an interesting curio, as they would say. Event Hub story. Next up, Yule revealed for Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. I don't know who that is, but I imagine that's exciting for a number of people that's greater than 0. Zeku, Guile, Vega, Seth, and Irian were the most popular Street Fighter V characters during Capcom Pro Tour Online, Central America 2's Top 64. A bit of a mouthful there. Guile, Zeku being most popular, Seth, Urian, Vega being just under that. And at the bottom, we did not see any Lucia, Juri, E Honda, Ed, Kage, Cody, Falk. A bit of a smaller sample size at 64, but we do see our front runners there. I always think that's important to look at. Another Event Hub story. We have some more crossover costumes for Karin, her being dressed up as Hakuto from Fighting EX Layer. So it's always interesting to look at that. We've seen Capcom really be more conservative and more not laid back, but just holding their cards to their chest with crossovers, while pretty much the entire industry, even hell, we sort of just talked about how Samurai Showdown is getting crossovers, where Street Fighter V is just sort of sitting there. We saw some Fighting EX Layer stuff last month, I believe, And so it's they're being a little bit less conservative here, but I guess especially with them doing a new season, they're going to want to really get out there. Guilty Gear Strive. This is an Event Hub story, which I think is a Famitsu story. There's going to be no ranked mode, so this is sort of weird. I did hear a bit about this, I believe, on the Giant Bombcast. It may have been somewhere else, but there's not going to be a ranked mode. Instead of a ranked mode, you're going to be put on a quote-unquote platform where you will be able to challenge people who are similar to your skill level. It really sounds like that's a disaster waiting to happen, and I don't know why they're not set on this ranked mode. I haven't really heard any people have problems with it. I mean, it is what it is with Dragon Ball FighterZ. I assume Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. I assume the current Guilty Gear we have. And our last news item. We have a tier list for Dragon Ball FighterZ from Hook Gang God. So let's check that out. At the S tier, you have Kid Buu, Ultra Instinct Goku, OG Broly, Base Vegeta, Gotenks, Teen Gohan, and Bardock, and everyone else is either A+ or A. So it seems like people think the game is relatively healthy. So that's great to hear, especially as somebody who's trying to inch his way back there. I am preoccupied with something I can't really talk about, so won't realistically be able to do it. But it was nice to go back and try and use a little bit of Android 16. It felt like riding a bike. Get some hit in there. See, we have one more viewer. Thanks for tuning in, Lurks. But yeah, that's our last news item here. We'll go ahead and get into an ad, and after the ad, we'll be going into tournaments. Yeah, so as always, thanks for tuning in, folks. This is One Punch Combo, a Bad at Fighting Games production. This is one of two podcasts we do at Bad at Fighting Games at this channel through me, Raisin B Man. The other being Filler Episode, an anime and manga podcast. And guess what? Filler Episode will actually be up tonight. Later tonight, really more sooner than later. But Filler Episode is weekly. You can look forward to that every week on Saturday. Whereas One Punch Combo is on a monthly basis. It's the first Saturday of every month. So you can look forward to those there. And let's talk about subscriptions. Please subscribe on Twitch. Anything you do, you should be doing it on Twitch with my content. Doing it on YouTube is great, but YouTube has demonetized me. It's very hard to get monetized on YouTube anymore. They demonetize people twice. But Twitch, I am still monetized, and I can potentially earn money. And that would really help make sure that this investment is a worthy one. All right, but anyway, we are at the tournament section of this podcast. I don't really go over tournament results in details, but I will tell you what tournaments took place. So here we go. We had the Dragon Ball FighterZ National Championships, Tekken Online Challenge, Europe, Southwest, an Extra Life Tekken charity event, Capcom Pro Tour Online 2020 China, Street Fighter League Pro US Season 3 Week 5 results, Street Fighter League Pro Japan 2020 results, Soul Calibur Online Challenge US East results, Arc Revel Online 2020 West results, Rage Grand Blue Fantasy Versus 2020 winner early results from day 2. I believe that's a thing that's going to be taking place over time, so that's why you only have day 2. Capcom Pro Tour Online 2020 East Asia 2 results. Tekken Online Challenge US Central results. Arc Revel America Online 2020 Northeast results. Arc Revel Japan Online 2020 results. Core A Cup Tekken 7 Invitational results, Capcom Pro Tour Online 2020 Europe West results, Arc Revel Online 2020 Midwest results, Tekken Online Challenge Europe North results, Capcom Pro Tour Online 2020 Central America 2 results, Arc Revel Online America 2020 South/Southeast results, and Tekken Online Challenge Australia results. So those are some tournaments that happened this previous month. Some of them are still happening. Particularly that Grand Blue is more of a series than a one specific tournament, so you can look forward to that. So check out that footage if you would like. But yeah, that's it for this show. This has been One Punch Combo Episode 2, brought to you by Bad at Fighting Games, by me through this channel, Raisin B-Man. As always, thanks for tuning in, and we will be back next month with this show, with Episode 3. And we will be back actually later tonight with filler episode in anime and manga podcast. So if that's something that you would like to check out, then definitely stick around. That podcast happens weekly. This one happens monthly. And as always, thanks for tuning in.